I am back in New York. I have been out of New York for about a week and a half now. I was in Flint, Michigan for another reporting trip covering the Flint water crisis. A lot of those videos are now up on my YouTube channel. We were in Flint last week. It was my 10th reporting trip there, and holy Snickers bar, did we find some stuff. I found, along with my business partner Jen, working alongside some residents as well, a whole lot of scandalous corruption. That I'm currently digging more into. I don't want to say what I found because when you publicly telegraph what you found, and that information could potentially bring down certain agencies, you don't want to put that out there because then you have a walking target on your back. And I don't want a walking target on my back. I am totally fine taking risks, but it's not smart to kind of like alert certain agencies, individuals that you kind of have uncovered some stuff they're doing that they shouldn't be doing. But let's just say, and my business partner Jen can attest to it, we were in Flint, we were interviewing residents to kind of just keep the story out there because it's still a nightmare, it's still a crisis. A lot of people messaged me, Jordan, we appreciate that you care about Flint, but report on other things, stop going back to Flint. First of all, I do report on other things. I was in Virginia and West Virginia covering tree protests, covering the West Virginia primary. Almost every day on youtube.com/Jordan Chariton Reports, I cover a whole bunch of stories that no one else is covering. So I definitely cover things other than Flint. However, the reason I've kept going back to Flint is it only takes you 15 minutes being in Flint to realize it's still a major disaster. It's still a major crisis. And when I say crisis, I mean people getting sick with new illnesses. I literally just met a young family that just moved into Flint. I was knocking on doors as far in digging in on a particular story I'm working on, and literally young African-American guy just moved in with his girlfriend and 2 kids 1 month ago, and they have rashes all over their body. Moved in 1 month ago, but the water is safe. I drank a sip from the water at one man's home. This is the grossest stuff I've ever tasted in my life. It's like there's this really sharp like bite in the taste that I don't know what it is, but tastes like metal to me. So why I keep going back to Flint is because, yeah, you're seeing me in Flint, and it looks like, oh, this guy's obsessed with Flint. But it's not just about Flint, as I always say. If you take the cameras away from Flint, if you take the microphones away from Flint, if you take journalists away from Flint, and there are no journalists left in Flint, even the local media there is, frankly, in my view, not doing its job. They're basically repeating the talking points they get from the state. Then you normalize the poisoning of American citizens, but more importantly, you normalize the government covering it up after the fact, and then basically leaving the residents to fend for themselves. Because I can tell you from what I have seen this last trip, they have left the residents there to essentially deal with your sickness and die. That's the truth. So I am going to keep covering Flint, and I think what I'm working on right now is probably the biggest story I've ever done, to be honest with you. What I'm working on right now, what I have uncovered in my last trip to Flint that I am now working on is, I don't exaggerate, and Jen, my business partner, can tell you too, it is enormous level of corruption, an enormous level of inhumanity, an enormous level of disregard for residents and human beings, frankly, poor human beings. It is staggering. I wish I could tell you what it is, but I can't because I don't want certain agencies and individuals to know what I'm working on. But let's just say when this story gets out, and right now I have, thankfully, I actually have a major news outlet that I've reached out to with the information that is interested in publishing it. When this gets out, I think you will it will be very clear why I kept going back to Flint. It will be very clear that when the government declares water safe and, everything's dandy, maybe journalists should look into those claims. So that's what's going on in Flint. I want to thank we had, I think, at least 60 people, viewers, actually sponsored me for my last reporting trip in Flint, because I'm not with the Young Turks anymore, so I'm basically going off no funding. We're trying to launch a media company, but we haven't gotten the funding yet. So viewers have essentially been covering my flight, the rent-a-car, hotel, food, so that I could keep reporting in the field. And I can't thank you enough. We got, I think, 60 viewers supported me there. I think we got over $2,000 in contributions, which is what we were looking for. We set a goal for that trip at 2,000. I think we passed that. So that's what's going on. I haven't followed corporate media nonsense for the last week or so because I've been in Flint. As you know, when I was in Flint last week, I already published a piece on the suspect science that's been going on the federal and the state level as far as declaring the waters safe. That piece was published last week. There it is in the chat. You could read it, share it. Sam Oser, who has worked with me in the past, that is working with me now, she helped get it out to as many people as possible. I think we have like over 1,300 retweets on the story, which is kind of miraculous, because let me tell you something. Publishing a major story and then 15 minutes later, ABC canceling the Roseanne show, and then everybody having to rant about that for the next 3 days, that definitely didn't make it easy to get attention on my story that was published at TruthDig. But we did get lots of retweets, thanks to Sam and Jen and some others, and it did get around. Congressman Ro Khanna actually tweeted about it and responded to it. Some other folks are actually looking at it right now, so we're making progress here. The other thing is, like I said, we're actively trying to launch the media company Status Quo. It's not easy, unfortunately, to get funding, especially when the majority of people only want to fund news that basically covers Trump 24/7, which I'm not going to do. I refuse to do that. So we're trying to do things differently, covering real stories, real communities, real struggle, from Flint to Standing Rock to East Chicago to North Carolina. Now there's a lead problem in Milwaukee that's been going on for a while. I have many, many messages about water contamination elsewhere, corruption, police brutality, corrupt officials. I mean, the list goes on and on. My Facebook messages that I get, my email, everything. I have so many messages from you guys about corruption that is not being covered where you live, because it's not related to Trump, Russia, Stormy Daniels, or whatever other nonsense everyone else is fixated on. So I will continue my best to cover the things that corporate media will not touch. You can help me, obviously, patreon.com/Jordan Chariton Reports. Every monthly subscriber makes a big difference. Even if it's $2 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month, you get different things at different levels. But I can't thank you guys enough for the ongoing support. Like I said, I will be back in the field rather soon. I'm not going to publicize this time where I'm going, just so I kind of fly under the radar, because the story I'm looking into is rather big and rather significant. So you don't want to put a target on your back where certain folks, agencies know where you are, what you're doing, and then can come kill you. So if I end up disappearing, remember this Facebook stream. So you know it wasn't an accident. I didn't know off myself. But hopefully that doesn't happen. And I hope my mother's not watching, because she'll call me all worried.